Prime Minister continue at the White House, their first face-to-face since the president went to Israel after the October 7th attacks. Both leaders meeting with American families of hostages, the president pushing for a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Vice President Kamala Harris will also meet with Netanyahu separately. The presumptive Democratic nominee returning from a campaign event in Houston today, calling on rival Donald Trump to debate.
And I'll tell you, I'm ready to debate Donald Trump. I have agreed to the previously agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready.
The former president stepping up his campaign too, and verbal attacks on Harris. 2 wildfires burning in Northern California, prompting evacuations. Authorities say it appears the park fire near Chico was intentionally set. They've made an arrest. Fire crews also battling blazes in Idaho, Oregon, and Arizona. This is ABC News.
Summer is heating up, just like the deals at Omaha Steaks. From perfectly aged steaks to juicy burgers, Omaha Steaks is your summer grilling headquarters. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale at omahasteaks.com for exclusive, unconditional money-back guaranteed packages starting at $99. Plus, get an extra $10 off with promo code QUALITY at checkout. Visit omahasteaks.com, code QUALITY for an extra $10 off. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale today, before these deals go up in smoke.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-885-9500. That's 1-800-885-9500. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. 1-800-885-9500. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex, this is the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with Young Gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
And welcome back into the George Plaster Show on another cloudy day here in Nashville. I haven't seen the sun much this week, but I'm sure it'll be right back in action here throughout the rest of next week as we get moving. And we do have Terry McCormick back for another Titans update after another day of training camp, day 2. But first, we got to get moving. We got some other update topics to get to. But first, let's head out to Murfreesboro. Say what's up to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, what's going on?
Not much, Billy. How you doing, man?
Good. You play any golf this morning?
I did.
How'd you play?
74.
74?
Yeah.
Is that an average day for you?
I mean, I don't know, man. I'm probably a 5 handicap, probably. I'm trying to get my game down, man. I'm trying to get in the 60s. I want to shoot under. I had it a couple weeks ago. I should have shot a 70, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. Screwed it up on the last couple of holes.
You could qualify for the Senior Open maybe if you get to 60.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm that good. I've gotten better putting and chipping, which that's where the game really is. If you can keep it out of trouble and you can putt and chip, you've got a good shot of making a good score. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
So unlike Billy Jones, you get to the greens, it's struggle time. For Kelly, you're locked in.
I can't see. Do you golf, Billy Jones?
A little bit.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I get out there and play a decent amount. We were talking about today. We actually have a Ryder Cup event when I get back to school. So excited
is that
for
right?
that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Be
Little team action, huh?
Real quick. Yeah. Should be good. Hopefully, I don't let the rest of the guys down, but we'll see.
All right,
yeah, I came in last night and Happy Gilmore was on. I'm sure y'all have seen Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah,
one of the great movies ever.
One of the best.
Shooter McGavin, dude. I was in a tournament with Shooter McGavin, and he was.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, yes, I was in Jim Kelly's tournament in Buffalo. He was there, and he wore an all orange suit, and he got stuck in the bunker with his golf cart. If you catch my drift,
yeah.
I'm catching your Shooter McGavin drift there. We got our golf fix in. Let's head down to Titans training camp and get a report from Terry McCormick, and that report brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. MortgageLadyUSA.com is the website, or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Terry, what's new in Titanland?
Well, first injury of camp today. Cornerback Chidobe Owozi, otherwise known as Cheeto, suffered a calf injury, left early in the last period of Wednesday's first practice, and then wasn't out there today. And Brian Callahan said going to be out a couple of weeks or so nursing a calf injury. Also addressed Harold Landry's situation. He's been sick and will be working his way back in as soon as he's healthy. Then they actually added a couple of guys to the roster. They signed former Broncos first-round pick Shane Ray. He's an edge rusher. Actually has not played a snap in an NFL game since 2018, if you can believe that. He spent some time in Canada, was on the Bills practice squad last year. And then they also brought back Corey Levin to compete to be the backup center. So busy second day of camp, just in terms of injuries and shuffling the roster a little bit.
You mentioned Chidobe Awuzie, and I also heard where L'Jarius Sneed and Awuzie are on load management type deals, type programs. Did you hear anything more on that? Just because of they're getting back into the rhythm of playing.
Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed was on that program last year with Kansas City, where he hardly ever practiced, but then again, he was always available, and that was kind of the way they wanted to go about it, make sure that he was ready to go, ready to play on Sundays. And so he said that last year he didn't do hardly anything in camp with the Chiefs, but he is part of the plan of, they have a plan for him to be out there on the practice field. He took most of the reps on Wednesday, and then today he got a little bit of, I guess, a day off, a watch day, so to speak, where he only really did a little bit out there during individual, but nothing in 7-on-7 or 11-on-11.
Terry, you mentioned last visit yesterday that they do have an open practice Saturday at Nissan. What can you tell us about that, and maybe some details if fans want to get out there?
Okay, well, I'm actually not exactly sure. I think the fans may have to have some sort of ticket. I don't know.
Okay. Lost Terry for a second there, so
then
we do know
as far as the team, they're not going to be in pads. They're just going to be out there, and running a normal practice, kind of like they've been doing the last couple of days, and getting work in and ramping up for when they do go in pads next week. So it's going to be interesting to see. Brian Callahan said he's looking forward to really, I guess, what'll be his first time in Nissan Stadium conducting any sort of work in there.
Yeah, so just got word that it's a free, family-friendly open practice at Nissan Stadium starting at 10 a.m. Parking lots will open at 9, and practice will begin at 11 a.m. So if you want to head out to Nissan Stadium and see what the Titans got going on, you can. But, Terry, thanks again for the visit. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, sounds good.
All right, that's Terry McCormick, our Titans insider, TitanInsider.com, part of Main Street Media. Billy, too. We've got a few pieces of news here to get to with the update.
Yeah, we'll start. We'll take a trip over down 40 and and talk about what's going on in Knoxville. This was announced earlier, but now we have gotten our more formalized plans in terms of what's called, it's an 865. It's basically a riverfront collection of restaurants, shops, and bars right next to Neyland Stadium by the river and right over by the basketball arena as well. Food City Center, I think is the name, formerly Thompson Bowling Arena. But you can see some pictures. Here's what they call a hotel condo, I think was the name. It's going to be partly a hotel and then 60 condos in this building right next to the whole shopping district, which you can see right here. This is what you can see in Atlanta, St. Louis, Texas even. A lot of these baseball towns have added these kind of combination restaurant, bar, shopping areas, and now Tennessee's getting their own right next to Neyland.
Boy, Tennessee, Danny White's got it going on, Kelly.
Yes, he does, man. And that's what I was going to say. Billy just alluded to it, but we went down to Birmingham, and they've got a bunch of those eateries next to their football stadium down there. So I think this is what a lot of people are going to. A lot of areas and a lot of communities are going to. They've got these stadiums, and they're going to, it's going to be like a whole experience where they're bringing in restaurants, they're bringing in shopping, they're bringing in things to, to get people, there to the game.
Billy, did you figure out is this thing going to be open all year round? Or is this football specific? I mean, I would guess it's...
from what I read, it's not football dependent. These restaurants, these bars are going to be operational all year. I mean, obviously, you don't have the game day appeal, but if you're going there on a normal Tuesday night, I mean, you got a beautiful view of the Tennessee River right there, and obviously Neyland right behind you. So, I think this still could be something that you could get up for, and obviously for concerts at the basketball arena, and they're going to have 25 probably home basketball games, 20, 25 home basketball games. So I'd imagine it's still going to be heavy use because they have a lot of concerts in that venue too.
That's big time right there.
Exciting news for the Volunteers. We also have some Preds news. Spencer Stastny, there was some kind of ambiguity as far as what would become of that. The Preds have announced today that they've signed him to a 2-year contract, and it's a two-way deal, so around $800,000. That number will obviously decrease if they send him down to Milwaukee. But there was some talk about is there going to be room to keep Stastny in a depth role. Kind of fell out of favor late in the season with Burnett, but he is going to stick around for another year.
Good for the Preds.
Yeah, they've clearly been not afraid to throw some money around.
Stastny, we had him on the show actually. I think during early in the season, and he was a guy that really came on, so I'm glad they locked him up.
Yeah. We also had a Dabo Sweeney quote. It was either today or yesterday out of ACC Media Days when he said, quote, "I'm not anti-portal. I'm pro the young men, talented young men that I believe in on our team, that believe in me, that believe in Clemson." People have talked a lot about Dabo, not a guy that's been very active in the transfer portal, and he's kind of pushing back on that narrative.
Kelly, does he really think he can win without using the portal?
Well, he saw last year what happened to him when he played Duke. Mike Elko was heavily involved in the transfer portal, and they beat those guys. So, it's the game that you have to play nowadays, guys. You know that. I mean, if you don't, you're going to get behind the 8 ball, and you're not going to be there very long because you're probably not going to win games. Because if you're going to take a high school kid and try to – now, I don't know what's going to happen. I think we're going to talk about this with the 105 scholarships that are coming. I mean, that's a game changer too. But, when you're looking at a guy that you're trying to develop over a guy that's been in college for 3 years and been on a varsity program and been on a varsity, nutrition plan in the weight room at school, understands he's more mature – you're fighting an uphill battle if you don't get involved.
Yeah, and it is. I was listening to an interview for him. This was probably a month ago, 3 weeks ago, where he was talking to a reporter. And he basically said the kids going into the portal, he thought most of them weren't good enough to play at Clemson. And he just felt like the guys he had in the tank were better than those guys. And I think we kind of saw that play out to a certain degree last year where they won their final 5 games and looked good at the end of the season. Yeah. But the difference between, a guy who's been sitting in your program for 2 years, there's still a learning curve for him to start playing major college football versus getting a guy in the portal who's played before and can jump in week 1 and is ready to go. I think we saw that play out last year.
I wonder where Clemson would be in the SEC. Because I don't think they would be a playoff contender if they're in the SEC. And they may not even be a true playoff contender in the ACC this year. I know some people have touted them up to be that, Kelly, but I wonder, like Clemson, where would they stand in the SEC right now?
I don't know. He had that long run where he had some talented guys there, man. A lot of first-round draft picks. He had Deshaun Watson, who was a game changer for him. It all starts with the quarterback, fellas. I know that's what I played, but if you got one, you got a chance. It's just like in the NFL now. If you got a quarterback, you have a chance. If you don't, you're once again behind the 8 ball.
And you got to have an offensive line, according to Mike Organ.
Yes, you
and
do.
we saw Cade Klubnik kind of come on at the end of last year, see if he can carry that momentum into this year. But I wonder, obviously that showing against Duke was poor, but in week 4, they should have beaten Florida State at home.
Yeah.
And if they win that game, who knows? Obviously, they lost to Miami in overtime and then lost at NC State. But who knows if they win that Florida State game if things are a little different. One last piece of news Billy and I thought were interesting. There's some betting odds out there for first coach to be fired. In the ACC, Billy Napier at plus 400, Sam Pittman at plus 500, listed as the first coach fired in the country. You got, how about this? Mario Cristobal right behind him at 6-1, Clark Lee at 8-1. So
Mario Cristobal?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Which is surprising.
He's got a pretty good team this year. And, I mean, we've talked about Clark. Yeah, I don't think he's on the hot seat, Kelly. I mean, unless it's an absolute disaster this year. And you go 2-10 and you're just getting destroyed every game. But Sam Pittman feels like, to me, and I've heard from some Arkansas people, that no matter what happens this year, this is going to be his last season. No matter what, he's just going to kind of ride out and call it quits no matter what, which I could see too.
Yeah, money talks, brother. And you talk about Mario Cristobal. He's a former University of Miami guy who won a national championship there when they were winning their national championships. But, he had a team where Middle went down there and destroyed.
Right. 3 touchdowns. 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Dave Aranda hanging down there at 7-1. After his second season at Baylor where they went in and really destroyed a really good Ole Miss team in the Sugar Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
People were talking about him as one of the hottest coaches in the country in terms of getting a bigger job. He obviously was the defensive coordinator on that national championship LSU team, but it's been some rough times in Baylor since they won the Big 12 in the Sugar Bowl. One other interesting piece, Neil Brown still at 14-1. He was the guy going into last year everyone said was done. And one of the cooler things I've ever seen a coach do was he said, you know what? If I'm going out my way. And he took over as the offensive coordinator for West Virginia last year and ended up winning 8 games and kept his job. So we'll see if he can keep that going this year.
Another one more guy to watch, maybe not this year, but in the next few years, if it really keeps rolling downhill, is Lincoln Riley at USC. It's hard to believe them firing him. Maybe it's a situation where he said, you know what, he gets maybe a better look somewhere else, but it's not looking good for Lincoln Riley.
Hey, Miller Moss, strap in, Billy. It's gonna be a fun year in
no Caleb Williams.
West Hollywood. No Caleb Williams though.
All right, that'll wrap up the update. Coming up, Danny Evans, and we're gonna open up the phones as well at about 4:40. So sit tight. Open up the phones at 4:40 for Danny Evans. We're gonna talk baseball with him, former Dodgers general manager. A lot of baseball topics to get to, but first, let's check in with Richard Pearl from Keller Williams Realty.
Hello, I just want to talk to you today about listing your home. If you've been thinking about listing your home but don't know what your home is worth, please feel free to give me a call at 615-268-7996, and I will run a comparable market analysis for you and see what your home is worth. 615-268-7996, or my office number is 615-895-8000.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
All right, let's talk a little baseball with Danny Evans, former Dodgers general manager, a little bit earlier today, a little bit later in the week, so we're shifting things around a little bit, but there he is, Danny Evans. Danny, what's going on?
What's going on with the two of you? Hello, Kelly.
What's up, Mr. Evans? How you doing, brother?
Wow, I got a Mr. Evans. We haven't even started. I'm Jack. Let's go.
Inmates running the asylum today. No George, as Poggi said yesterday. But, Danny, I want to start. Former Vanderbilt commit Dylan Cease throws a no-hitter for the Padres earlier today. I had forgotten he was even a Vanderbilt commit to begin with. They've had several of those. Ian Anderson, who I think you've talked about as well. Were you able to watch it today?
I did.
Man, I saw the final out. You know, he just missed a no-hitter in 2022, I think. Luis Arraez broke it up. This year, Arraez on his team and of course, helps him get the no-hitter. What was that like watching that today?
Well, Billy, 3 starts in a row. He's been completely dominant. He's had near no-hitters. I think he's given up something like 3 or 4 hits in his last 23 innings. His last 3 starts have been utterly dominant, and I think what we see is the reason why the Padres gave up 4 players for him. I mean, this guy has elite stuff, and he's on a club that's contending. Dylan Cease has really answered the call for the Padres after a big trade in spring training.
It feels like no-hitters, maybe I'm wrong in this, felt a little bit more common, even 5, 6, 7 years. I mean, it's hard to do. Right, but also there's a lot of organizations that have never even had a no-hitter, and so that tells you, like the Padres, that was the first ever, correct?
No, it's the second one.
Second.
Okay. I think Musgrove threw the first one, and they're roommates. And check this out, guys. Musgrove had a great quote after the game. He said that Cease's rent just went up with the no-hitter.
That's a good line. So, Try to describe like how hard it is to throw a no-hitter. I mean, obviously we know what has to go into it. You need some luck involved. But when it happens, it's like, man, that just happened.
Well, in today's world, you need your pitch count to be down after 7 innings to have a chance to get into the 9th inning. So that's number one. I think it's one of the coolest things in the game. I mean, a perfecto, a no-hitter is so fun to watch, to be there. I got the alert after 7 and I was doing a bunch of work and I just switched it over and I got to see Cease throw the no-no and I got to see Kershaw's first 3 innings. So it was a good day for me streaming wise. But the coolest thing about a no-hitter, especially if it's only the starter who participates, is everybody on the field and everybody in the crowd knows exactly what's going on. And I think the enthusiasm, the focus becomes so much fun. In Cease's case, he had great stuff today. He had a lot of swinging strikes, but he had a ton of ground balls. So I think he punched out 9, but he didn't have that utterly dominant start, but he had really good stuff. But the weird thing, guys, is some of the people who have thrown no-hitters were guys you would never guess, guys that, you'd never get a baseball card for them. You'd be surprised some of the names that have thrown no-nos. When I was at the White Sox, I think it was 86, 87, we had a guy throw a no-hitter, walked 8, and never won another game the rest of his big league career. Wow. So, it's fluky, but it's fun as heck.
Yeah.
Danny, let me ask you a question talking about a no-hitter. It's one of these kooky questions, but I know you've asked. I'm sure you've been around the clubhouse. Like, the pitcher is focused. He's in it. He's involved. He's focused. But, like, how much pressure is it on his teammates that are in the field? Because they know what's happening. I mean, they know what's going on, and the worst thing in the world is to screw up a no-hitter for a guy.
No question. And, Kelly, you know what? It really goes down to what kind of a guy is the pitcher. If the pitcher is a great teammate, I remember I was at Kershaw's no-hitter, and he is beloved by his teammates. So as a result, everybody was just going crazy about Kershaw. But here's the thing. As a position player, I heard a great line a few years ago that Manny Ramirez was in the field, and all he kept saying is, don't hit it to me, don't hit it to me, and don't hit it to my teammate because he's not very good either. And, Kelly, there's superstition in baseball. Some of the broadcasters don't like to say it. I think it's crazy. But the big thing is, for a lot of players, a lot of pitchers, they don't want the interaction. They don't want to go, hey, dude, you got a no-hitter going. You got a perfecto. Some guys, after 5 innings, will come through the dugout and say, hey, I have great stuff today. Let's get this thing. Let's get a W, and let's get a no-no. So it depends on the player. But the most fun thing is the worst guys on the field are panic-stricken. And I'll tell you what, once I was with a club and we made a defensive replacement for a guy in the 8th inning. And that guy was the happiest guy in the world that he was no longer out there. And the ball that was hit in the no-hitter to his replacement, he never would have caught. So when the game was over, he was ecstatic because he knew he was going to be the culprit for the no-hitter being blown.
So cool. Well, speaking of pitchers, Danny, Clayton Kershaw has returned today. Not the best outing, 4 innings, gave up 6 hits, a couple of runs, but just good to see him back out there. And I mean, that's for the Dodgers. That's got to be big, right? Even though, it was a shorter outing, but I mean, he could have a huge impact here down the stretch, especially with, trade deadline coming up.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing, guys. He's a personal friend. I love him. And he had really good stuff. He had a great curveball. He had a bunch of balls that were just seeing eye base hits. His curveball was outstanding today. His fastball was 89 to 91. Had real good command. Was a little amped up first inning and had to get through that. He pitched really well. He had a little problem in the 2nd inning, I believe. A ball got away from Hernandez in left field took a weird carom off the foul line. But otherwise, I thought he threw great, showed no signs of being dinged up. That's a huge acquisition for the Dodgers to get one of the greatest pitchers in baseball history back looking fully healthy.
Well, and probably not good news for the Braves. There you see the NL West standings. Dodgers up on the Padres by 7 games. Phillies are up on the Braves by 9 games. And here come the Mets as well. I mean, this is not a foregone conclusion for the Braves all of a sudden. What are you seeing with them? Really struggled. Obviously didn't get the game in yesterday in the game 2 of the doubleheader. They start game 1 of 4 against the Mets tonight. What's going on with the Braves?
Yeah, well, huge series. I mean, huge series. The thing about the Braves is their offense has been so inconsistent in 24. And now with the injuries to Strider, to Fried, the injury also, to
Albies.
To Albies the other day was massive. I think they're in a situation, they're 9 out. They're floundering a little bit. They're having trouble treading water. And the Metsies are a game and a half behind them. And the Mets are the hottest team in baseball in the last 2 months. So a little bit of a day of reckoning for the Braves. Going to New York would probably be great for them because it'll amplify the series. It's in New York. It's a 4-gamer. And I think as a result, it'll help the Braves kind of, for me, reboot. There are a couple of really good clubs. I think the Braves at full strength are a much better club than the Mets, but the Braves will not be at full strength the rest of the year. I think it's questionable whether or not they can maintain that number 1 wild card. And I think with Albies' injury the other day, Fried going down, I think the Braves are probably going to be a wild card club because the Phillies at 9 games up is just too much. It's insurmountable in my opinion.
I got to thinking, obviously, we've talked about Garrett Crochet and how the White Sox are obviously going to try to move him. Whether the Braves target him or not, probably not. But I got to thinking about that. I mean, if you're the Braves, how are you thinking about, your club right now with the trade deadline coming up next Tuesday? I mean, if you're the GM, what is your thought process right now? And what do you think the Braves need?
Well, first of all, Billy, their focus is on winning the World Series, not just getting in. And that changes the dynamics of the trade deadline. They have the players and the wherewithal to make the move. They have a general manager who's among the best in the game. But losing Fried and losing Strider gives them a couple guys that are giant holes at the top of the rotation. There's no telling what Fried's forearm tenderness is going to end up to be. So I think a pitcher like Skubal, a pitcher like Crochet, who have 2.5 years of time left, you can't count on that guy Sale to be utterly dominant every night. I mean, he's been such a surprise, and he's a big reason why the Braves have had such a good year. So I think they'll be in there on those big starters, but at the same time, so will 9 or 10 other teams. And the Braves don't have as good a farm system as some of those other contenders. So they might have to go with a plan B or C, but knowing Alex Anthopoulos, they will make moves because they're not just trying to get in, they're trying to win the whole thing. And there's only about 5 or 6 clubs that have that mindset. They're one of them.
We're talking baseball with Danny Evans here, 95.9 FM. Don't forget, we will take some of your calls next segment, 615-844-5600. I got one more before I send it over to Kelly. Paul Skeens and the Pirates are hanging around, and I would love to see them in the playoffs. I think everybody would. They're sitting around 500. They're 7 back in the Central. What's the outlook on them? And in your mind, are they a team that can make the playoffs? But if they do get into the playoffs, can they be dangerous with as good of a pitching staff as they have?
They could be enormously dangerous, Billy. About a month ago on this show, I said if I were the Pirates, I'd go after a couple more players, maybe add and subtract. Their payroll has always been an issue with their current ownership. He's not a very spendy owner. And as a result, with them where they are, with Skeens, with a really good staff, Keller's a terrific starting pitcher. Jones getting hurt was a big blow to them, but look where they are. They're hot. They're one of the better teams in the game in the last month and a half. I think you're going to see the Pirates make a couple of moves, not bold moves, but not also moves that would cost them the future. But when you've got Skeens, when you've got Keller, and you've got a third starter in Jones, who are dominant guys, you can make a dent in anybody's postseason. Because, let's face it, Billy, your 4 and 5 guy don't get the ball in October and November. So their 3 elite starters, boy, I'd hate like hell to face them in the first round of the postseason.
Kelly, what you got for Danny?
Well, Billy, you took most of my questions, but I'll think on the run here.
That's another kooky question.
No, so Danny, with you being with the White Sox, and you just said it about some of the owners, like in the NFL, it's the same way. Everybody talks a good game in front of the press, but some owners are just not willing to spend. That's right. And how has it gone so wrong with the White Sox? Like, where does it start? Is it management? Is it farm system? Is it what is it? We talked about the Oakland Athletics last year, and now the White Sox are the same way, the worst team in baseball. Like, where does it start from? And is it just years and years of doing the same old that's not getting it done?
Billy, I think you've seen it just like I have. There's a lot of ownership people and management people, personnel guys, who really need a good solid dose of truth serum. They love to talk the talk, but then they don't walk the walk. With the White Sox, they have had an inept player personnel situation for an extended period. They've had about 4 or 5 years in a row where they have just been making terrible moves that have really put them in a bad situation. Now they're so bad that they lost 100 plus last year. They're on a pace to rival. Look at their 50 under 500 on July 25th. That is unheard of. And they're at a pace right now to rival the 62 Mets, who lost 120 games, the most losses in big league history. In their case, they haven't scouted well. They haven't developed well whatsoever. Their player development director, who hasn't done a good job in the past, then becomes their general manager. And the 2 people that preceded him made a series of moves with character and talent that really have this team a group of misfits. But guys, if they do what's rumored in the next 5-6 days with the trade deadline, they could even be worse without Crochet, without Fetty, without Robert. That team is all-time bad. If you're looking at a club to lose more than 120, the White Sox are a great opportunity, because as bad as they are now, they somehow are going to get worse.
That's but wait, there's more.
That's exactly right. And I don't think in this case, Kelly, it's the owner. I think the owner, I worked for him. I know him really well. He doesn't really get in the way of the baseball operations people. In this case, the baseball operations people have gotten in the way of themselves.
Man, awful situation up there in Chicago. Coming up, we'll get one more question from Kelly, and we're going to open up the phones to your questions for Danny. 615-844-5600. Get your calls in now, or else you may not be able to. So more with Danny Evans coming up right here on 95.9 FM.
As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in a car. with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
Kevin Todd's Inner Circle, and you'll have access to his upset specials. Dogs winning outright. Favorites running away to win by 3 to 4 touchdowns. Let him earn your business. Let the sportsbrokers.com show you how to win consistently. Call now and get today's underdog winner outright. 800-220-6262. Absolutely free. Kevin Todd is the nation's #1 sports handicapper. He's the professional the professionals turn to. It's yours absolutely free at 800-220-6262. That's 800-220-6262. Kevin Todd turns outcomes into incomes. Call now, 800-220-6262.
And we're back. George Plaster Show, 95.9 FM. We're talking baseball with Danny Evans, and we have loaded phone lines here on a cloudy Thursday here in Nashville, but we're going to go ahead and head to the phones, and we're going to open it up with Tony in Nolensville. Tony, how you doing?
Doing good, Billy. Hello, Billy, too, and Kelly, and as always, hello, Danny.
What's up, Tony?
Well, Billy One, as I call him, he mentioned earlier about having you have to have some luck always in these no-hitters, and I happened to be watching the game today, and in the bottom of the fifth, in case, I don't know if y'all saw it, but there was a little flare hit, a little blooper, right behind second in no man's land, and the second baseman, Bogarts, he's running out. Center fielder name, I think Merrill, is coming in, and the ball just hits in the outreach glove of the second baseman over his head. Pops up in the air, and happened to be the center fielder, Merrill, catches it. I mean, it was just one of those freak plays, otherwise it would have been a hit. But it hit in his glove, popped out of his glove, but the center fielder doing his job coming in, he caught it out of the air. So that was probably the strangest play I thought in the no-hitter today as I watched it. It was a pretty good play. Danny, I'm a Cubs fan, and we've talked a lot here about the Cubs and not giving up on them, but these one-run losses are taking a toll, buddy. And we lost the series to the Brewers, losing 1-0 and 3-2. And the Cubs pitching in the last 17 games, their ERA is 2.19, best in the major leagues. Yet the offense has only helped them with 9 runs since the All-Star break. What are they going to do?
Well, Tony, they're going to sell. And, they're in a situation where they're in last place. They're 11 out. Look how far back they are. They're 5.5 back. And Jed Hoyer, their general manager, has said that they're going to pursue trade possibilities. What we see, Tone, is the first month of the season, they were playing great. But now you pointed out in the last 3 weeks, they've pitched great, but they're not swinging the bat at all. And what's the hardest thing to do in the game? Hit. And now when you press, it makes it even a more difficult situation. I think the Cubs were a flawed club to start. To be a last place team is a real surprise. I thought they had more talent than that, but they just didn't figure it out. They didn't hit a lot, and their pitchers just didn't pitch as well as they needed. So I think what you're going to see is the Cubs sell, and I don't think they'll sell drastically, but they'll sell enough to rebuild for 2025.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. And, I was really hoping that they were at least playing for one of those wild card spots, but these one-run losses is just shoving them down a little bit further down the standings, and that's just what I'm afraid was going to happen. And with that, and I'll get off here and let you answer this, what players do you see them? Bellinger's, he hasn't even got back in the lineup. I don't think they're going to sell Bellinger, but I want to hear who you think they might put on the market and see who's going to buy them.
Tony, there's 20
Thank you,
or
Danny.
21
Guys, always good talking to you.
Thanks, Tony.
There's 20 or 21 teams that are in the hunt. So every player on your roster has somebody is interested. It just takes a real good deal from both sides and motivation to move the player. I think you'll see the Cubs very active, and I think they'll have a chance because they have seasoned players who have been in playoff races. Those are always a more safe acquisition at the trade deadline.
All right, that leaves a line open, 615-844-5600 if you want to hop in for Danny Evans. Let's go to Eric in Nashville. Eric, what's going on?
Hey, guys, and Dan, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
What's up, Eric? Eric, I owe you a little info about your Redlegs, their draft last week. I love Chase Burns, the right-hander. I know he's a Tennessee kid. He went to Wake. He's got a big arm. He's 96 to 100 plus. That's a number 1 or number 2 starter. The shortstop they took in the second round, good-looking left-handed kid. And the third kid's an LSU right-handed starter. And I think he's a solid depth guy, a 3-4. They leaned on college and they leaned on arms. And I thought they had a good draft.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Dan. And hopefully it also makes up for the pitcher I hated they got rid of last year in Castillo to the Mariners. I hated they got rid of.
Yep.
And before I get more to the Reds, one thing, and it's not your fault now, it's just something I think we forgot to mention last Friday when we were talking baseball. Last Friday was Rachel Robinson's 102nd birthday, former widow of Jackie Robinson. And just, I saw that, forgot to mention that last Friday. So,
one of the most incredible people I have met in my lifetime. An unbelievable influence on society and on Jackie.
You're absolutely right about that. But as far as the Reds, and again, it's just so frustrating with this team. Right after the All-Star break, they get swept by the Washington Nationals. Then they turn around. Of course, the last game, gets rained out. They take the first 2 of the series against the Braves. I know George probably is happy not to be here so I can rub it into him. But it seems like every time they take 1 step forward, they take 2 steps back. The only thing that's consistent about this team is their inconsistency. And it's getting to the point with them, too, being this far back, because when they lost 3 straight, there were 6 games but under 500. Then they got back to 4. They can't get close to over the 500 mark. But you have to wonder if they now are sellers, because if something doesn't happen, I guess within the next 2 or 3 weeks, I pretty much think it's going to be over. What do you see going forward? Could they be potentially sellers? And I'm going to hang up. Guys, Danny, take care. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Eric. Eric, I think they're going to do a little of both. I think they're going to sell and they're going to buy. They're close enough, and I know it's only a slight difference from the Cubs, but they've played better than the Cubs in 2025. I think they have the talent to contend. If you look at that group below the dotted line, those clubs that are the first 5 teams, they all think that they've got a shot. The problem is the 3 teams on top are 3 really good clubs, and all 3 of them are going to add. So it's going to be hard for the Reds to get back in. My guess, they won't do any panic moves. They'll sell somewhat, buy a little bit, and they'll probably continue to be as inconsistent as they've been all season long.
All right, we're going to go rapid fire here. We've got 2 more callers on the line. Rapid fire. Frank in Smyrna. Frank, what's going on?
Nothing, guys. Just home for a few days after traveling the U.S. watching the Braves this month. I went to see Paul Skeens in Atlanta, then to Phoenix and San Diego to the series there, and then the ill-fated trip to Atlanta this past weekend to see the Cardinals and Reds, where I saw more rain than anything, and it's just a Braves team that, to me, that just looks down and out. They just look completely flat and deflated. It was when I saw Albies get that injury Sunday, I just turned to my wife and said, "What else could go wrong? Just, what else?" That I knew it immediately what had happened to him. So, Danny, I'm encouraged that I'm going to call you the voice of reason for us diehard Atlanta Braves fans. I know we're going to do something, and I keep hearing Lane Thomas. Do you think that rumor has any legs in Atlanta?
We got 30 seconds here, Danny.
They're going to get better because Alex Anthopoulos will never sit still at the deadline.
There you have it. All right, Mike and Melrose, hang on the line. We're going to go to the break, and we'll get your call, and then we'll get Danny in on Stat of the Day as well. So more rapid fire here in this first hour. We got more coming up. 95.9 FM.
Good afternoon. I still see a lot of rain south of Nashville. You could run into some of that heavy rain down certain parts of 65 through Williamson County, down into Murray County. Give yourself a little extra time down through there. 24, there's a few pop-up showers that could affect you as well out in the Murfreesboro, Rutherford County area on 24 east and westbound. Cranking up pretty good now. 65 up through the Madison area. Nash Painting, non-franchise painting company. Mention this ad, get a 10% discount. NashPainting.com. Check them out online. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Looking for a way to elevate your engine's performance? Start with Napa Full Synthetic Engine Oil. It provides faster oil flow for hot and cold temperature protection in the harshest driving conditions. Regular use can help your engine run cleaner and longer by defending against sludge and buildup, improving overall engine performance and fuel efficiency while increasing the time between oil changes. Make the switch without slowing down. Feed your ride Napa Full Synthetic Engine Oil. Available now at Napa locations nationwide.
Buyandtow.com. Get cash for junk cars. Do you have a vehicle that's become a problem? You can get cash in your hand today and your vehicle hauled away. They'll buy your vehicle no matter the condition, in your driveway, at your mechanic shop, or even on the side of the road. Give them a call today at 615-480-6473 or visit buyandtow.com. Get cash in your hand today and your vehicle hauled away. 615-480-6473. Buyandtow.com. That's buyandtow.com.
Be here for every huge moment of the Atlanta Braves season as we load up for a run at the division crown.
2-0, and he hits one high in the air towards deep right center to the wall, and it ain't sticking around. It's a 3-run home run.
Tonight, the battle for the East hits the road to New York as Austin Riley and the Braves take on division rivals, the New York Mets, at Citi Field.
Pre-game coverage begins at 6 p.m. exclusively on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
All right, more rapid-fire baseball with Danny Evans. We're going to take a call, and then we're going to get to stat of the day, see if we can do this in a smooth fashion. Mike in Melrose, what you got for Danny?
Okay, good afternoon. I'll go real quick. It's good to see local product. Robbie Ray made a comeback last night. He Brentwood High School, same as Brian Reynolds. Also down the road at Brentwood Academy, we had Jacob Stallings had a good game, and then Bryce Jarvis with the Diamondbacks, he was the pitcher the night Rocker threw the no-hitter. He pitched for Duke. Hey, Danny, I'm Larry Smiddle's my dad, and we talk a lot of baseball and rules. And rules I think are dumb, and like why does a starting pitcher have to go 5 innings to get a decision? Why can a closer get a save when they're winning by 10 runs because they could throw through 3 innings? Do you have any, and I didn't know until recently, like Boston yesterday was getting beat so bad, but you can't put in a non-pitcher. I think you have to be down by at least 8 runs. Is that true?
Yes, it's a new rule. Yeah, and we don't have enough time to talk about all the rules I'd like to see changed, but the starting pitcher rule for me, the 5-inning thing with the game changing, I think an official scorer should be able to appoint a win and not have to have the 5-inning limit.
Exactly. And I got an idea for a rule. They were showing some of these guys their home run trots, like Soto. I think they timed them at 37 seconds. Maybe they need to be running that clock and give them 25 or 30 seconds to run the bases. If not, they have to go back to third. How about that?
Mike, the great thing about our sport is they get to bat again, and you can drill the guy if you don't like it. I think the rule that we should change, no rain allowed, no rain delays.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, real quickly, stat of the day presented by Adam Whitehead Plumbing in Nashville. If you ever have issues with your water heaters, bathrooms, kitchen sinks, water or sewer lines, give Adam a call, 615-485-1534. Real quick, we'll see what we got cooked up today. Since the All-Star break, 2 teams have scored less than 10 runs. One is the Chicago White Sox.
Shocker.
Who is the other team? If you were paying attention earlier, you know the answer.
Yes, Danny. Mr. Evans.
Baltimore Orioles.
Oh,
Cubbies.
Danny.
The Cubbies. Oh my God! Chicago has the market cornered on offense. Huh? That's pretty impressive. Wow,
Danny.
You know what? That's a sad statement right there.
That sure is. We know the White Sox were in it, but Cubs are also in it, so a couple of sad Chicago fans right now. Danny, sorry for the rapid fire there. I thought we did a decent job there, but thanks, as always, for taking the time with us.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little leave after that rapid fire. I'm not built for that anymore. Have a good weekend, guys. Enjoy the Braves-Mets series.
Thanks, Danny.
See you, brother.
Bye, guys.
That's Danny Evans, the baseball guru, checking in with us. Talked about literally everything on the map there with baseball. There's the music. We're talking a little college football. Shocker, it's coming up. Mitch Light from The Athletic. He's had some interesting pieces here in the last couple of weeks. We'll talk more football with Mitch Light coming up here on 95.9 FM.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. After meeting with President Biden in the Oval Office, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also meeting with Vice President and presumptive nominee Kamala Harris, discussing the war in Gaza and a ceasefire and hostage release deal that President Biden is working to finalize. Families of American hostages also met with President Biden and Israel's Prime Minister. Liz Hirsch Naftali is the great-aunt of 4-year-old Abigail Idan, who was taken hostage and released earlier.
The commitment is that we sat in a room with two men, two great leaders, that we need to be making the decision. And we know that Prime Minister Netanyahu is the person who needs to say yes.
In Northern California, authorities say they've arrested a man suspected of setting one of the wildfires burning out of control in the region. Boeing says the earliest return date to bring 2 astronauts back to Earth from the International Space Station will be mid to late August. The company's still working to fix leaks and other issues on the Starliner capsule. This is ABC News.
Is heating up, just like the deals at Omaha Steaks. From perfectly aged steaks to juicy burgers, Omaha Steaks is your summer grilling headquarters. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale at omahasteaks.com for exclusive, unconditional money-back guaranteed packages starting at $99. Plus, get an extra $10 off with promo code QUALITY at checkout. Visit omahasteaks.com, code QUALITY for an extra $10 off. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale today before these deals go up in smoke.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-649-0142. 800-649-0142. 800-649-0142. That's 800-649-0142.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex. Welcome back to the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with Young Gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
No George this week, out on vacation. He will be back next week, but we're keeping the talk rolling along. Talked all kinds of baseball in the first hour. Now we're going to shift it to college sports. A little bit of football, maybe a little bit of baseball in there as well. Mitch Light, senior editor covering college sports at The Athletic, joining us now. Mitch, good to see you. What's going on?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. I want to start with baseball. We obviously, Kelly will have plenty of football for you. I'm sure Billy too here. Billy Jones will get a question in as well. But I want to start with baseball. Your colleague Joe Rexrode had a really good piece on Tim Corbin in The Athletic that gave baseball fans and fans in general a really good look at how he views today's college sports landscape. Because you've heard some rumblings. Is Corb's gonna call it quits here soon? How's he gonna deal with the NIL transfer portal in college baseball? And just a great inside look and kind of a Q&A style there. What was your reaction to that? And anything else you can build upon that in terms of how Corbin is utilizing the portal to his advantage? Because if you're not, you're gonna fall behind.
Yeah, it was very interesting stuff, Billy. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised by Corb's honesty, but he was very honest in that, I thought. Very upfront with all the issues facing college baseball and facing college athletics. I think it's a little unfair to say he clearly does not like the portal the way it's set up, that guys don't have to sit out. But I don't think it's fair to say that he doesn't use the portal. I mean, even last year in the offseason, they brought in 4 transfers. You could say they weren't high-impact transfers. A couple guys got hurt. Obviously, this year, to fix some of the offensive woes, they've leaned into the portal more, addressed some brought in 3 guys who could be in the everyday lineup. They've used NIL the last few years to help some guys get to campus that maybe in the past were more of a draft risks. They've obviously used NIL to get in the portal to get some of those guys there. So I guess the word, reluctantly taking part in the culture that is college athletics right now. He doesn't have to love everything about it, but I think as he said in there, and if you know Corbin well, what he really loves to do is coach and teach, and he still does that. Once the season starts, you put all that stuff behind you, all the roster moves, all the transaction, and you're coaching and teaching for the next 6 months or however long the season is. We know he really enjoys that. And, he talks a lot about the standard. He said, 18 straight tournaments he's made. Mm-hmm. He knows what the standard is, and he knows that it hasn't been met. And let's not forget, like last year, we can talk about how they haven't been to a super regional in 3 years, and that's the ultimate way this program and programs like that are judged. But this was a national seed last year. They were a top 10 program last year. This was really the first year in the past 5, 6, 7 years where they took a half step or, full step. They still made the tournament. So I think a lot of eyes will be on this program going forward next year to see how Tim Corbin adjusts. Joe did ask him about stepping down, and he shot that down quickly. At least, that's what he's going to say. He's not going to say, oh, yeah, I thought about retiring, but then I'll give it another go. But, I agree with you, Billy. Very interesting piece.
Beginning in 2025 and 26, by sports scholarships rules will be eliminated, allowing teams to offer scholarships to the entirety of their rosters. Baseball specifically, I think, and we've talked about this, Mitch, and I'm sure you agree, is the most impacted. They've got a huge influx of scholarships going from 11.7, as Vanderbilt fans, of course, know well, to 34. Obviously, it'll have an impact in football, but what kind of baseball impact do you think this will have, especially with some of the monster programs that are obviously paying these kids lots of money, like an LSU, a Tennessee, and A&M? Does that just make them even more stronger, or do you think it helps some of the even group of 5 schools, or even schools like a West Virginia, who haven't traditionally been powers, but maybe this can maybe level them up even too a little bit?
Yeah, it's obviously a huge for a sport that has just struggled for so many years, and teams have had to get creative with how they felt their rosters. It's just a seismic change for outside of the SEC. I think in the past few years, most of the top programs in the SEC have quote unquote been like fully funded, including Vanderbilt. I think most of the guys there are not paying any tuition. They're getting the extras from whatever the scholarship they get made up in NIL. What this does, it brings it all in-house, and the guys are on scholarship. So they're not, the NIL portion can be above and beyond what they're getting in scholarship. I think what a big issue is going to be is the roster number. What is it? Do you have it there? Is it 36 or is it 34?
34.
That's small, because that post-COVID, I think it's gone up to 40. Yep. If you do the math across all of the programs, like I saw some Kendall Rogers in D1 had an interesting story and talked to some mid-major coaches. This is great for mid-majors because you decrease the roster size at these power conference schools. You 5 by 5 kids or 6 kids across the board. That's going to trickle down to mid-majors, going to trickle down to low majors, D2, D3. What's going to happen, though, it's going to squeeze out. You can't, it's at some point you get to the bottom. You're going to squeeze out playing opportunities for some kids in college baseball. I think that's like an unintended consequence. It's going to take a lot of these schools some time to get down to that roster size because they've been kind of bloated the last few years. But I think it's a great thing for college baseball, specifically the SEC. I don't know if it has that huge an impact, again, because I think most of these teams have been fully funded the last few years.
Mitch, let's go over to college football. Obviously, media days last week. I'm sure you've been to your fair share of those. We've talked a lot about the pecking order. Is 8 or 9 teams in the SEC too many that could possibly make the playoff? And with Texas and Oklahoma coming in, the pecking order obviously has changed a little bit. How do you look at the pecking order in the SEC? And are you in the mold of, I think 8, 9, maybe even 10 teams have a legit shot at making the playoff this year?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm looking at my old employer, Athlon Sports. I got my magazine here, and it's just the jarring thing is not necessarily the 16 teams, it's the no divisions. Like in the past, if you were picked 5th or 6th, that wasn't great, but being picked 5th doesn't sound that bad. Being picked 14th isn't great. Florida Gators, we know their struggles, but that's a proud program. Picked 12th in the SEC there. A term that, I used to use a lot when I do podcasts with Braden Gall, my old colleague at Athlon Sports, was programs that have national championship DNA. And you look at, now there are some teams, like I don't think a program like Missouri has national championship DNA, but I think they have a playoff caliber roster this year. So there's going to be teams that in certain years can kind of elbow their way into the discussion. But there's only a certain amount of teams that I think have the potential to win national championships. Because getting to the playoff is one thing. Winning games against elite competition once you get there is something else. But to specifically answer your question, I would say I might go 8 or 9 deep teams that internally they think they've got a legit chance to make the college football playoff. Obviously, do the math, it's not going to be that many, but there are a lot of programs that are going to have high expectations, and that's just life in the SEC.
Mitch Light from The Athletic joining us here on the George Plaster Show, 95.9 FM. Kelly, I'm not going to hog the mic anymore. What you got from Mitch?
That's okay, man. Okay, so Mitch, with the baseball, you talked about it because I think it's the popularity of baseball and softball, but baseball is getting 34, which is crazy. The scholarships are getting now, and I think it's the popularity. But you look at football, and they're going to get 105. Does that mean the Power Five, the Group of Five, the FCS, is it trickling down, or where does it stop? Do we know?
Well, it's interesting because I don't know what the scholarship limit was when you played, Kelly, but when I first started watching college football, maybe a little before my time, and my dad went to the University of Alabama, so I grew up an Alabama fan, and you say how those rosters were so big back in the day. Alabama would sign 100, and I remember talking to Jeff Rutledge once, former quarterback quarterback coach at Vanderbilt. Obviously, when he got to Alabama, he was one of 7 freshman quarterbacks on scholarship. God knows how many guys they had on scholarship that year. But the power schools would hoard guys away. They'd go to Alabama to keep them away from the mid-tier schools in the SEC. Will we have that? All this parity we've seen, and sort of parity we've seen, but that started 20 years ago, the trickle down was because of the roster limitations going down to 85 or whatever it was. Now we're going back up to 105. Now, teams don't have to have 105 guys on scholarship, of course. They can stick at 85. But I think that's going to be interesting to see how those teams monitor. It's a different era now. Back in those days, you couldn't really transfer as easily. You could hoard guys. Now, I don't know if coaches really want 90 guys on scholarship, Kelly. I mean, you got to keep everyone happy. You can't have 7 quarterbacks and keep everyone happy. So, on one hand, you can say it's going to hurt the mid-majors because the power conference team, the SEC Big Ten, can collect more talent. But I still think we're going to see the trickle-down transfer because guys want to play, and they're not going to be content to be in their 3rd year in the program and be a 3rd-team wide receiver.
So Mitch, what does that do to walk-ons? I mean, that's 105 Scott, but what does that do to walk-ons? I mean, and it may be a deal where coaches say, hey, I'm going to use 85 full scholarships, and then we're going to start giving partials to these other guys because you can use those scholarships how you want. But, I'm worried about, walk-ons. What do they do? Where do they go?
I think I understand the way it's going with this, but that's a very good point. I think the term, there'll still be walk-ons. Like if you're a school in Missouri, I'm just picking them out, they want to use 90 scholarships, they can bring 15 guys as walk-ons and just not pay them. So in that regard, I don't think you can still have walk-ons. And I'd like to see rosters. I don't know how many teams are really carrying more than 105 guys nowadays.
Right.
Maybe they are. You got some walk-ons that actually have jersey numbers and some guys that play special teams. Then you got your next tier of walk-ons that literally probably never play. So I will be interested to see. I don't think the term walk-on is going to go away. Each school will be kind of at their liberty to use them differently. I assume the schools lower on the food chain will have more walk-ons. Your Conference USA, your AAC schools, they're probably not going to be in position, I don't think, to fund 105 scholarships.
I got you. Okay, so this next question, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'm not sure how to bring this out, but it's probably a dumb question, but I've really been really upset. The transfer portal, with the Pac-12 abolishing. I'm like, well, do we think? And everybody says, well, the toothpaste is out of the bottle. You can't put it back in. Is there any way that cooler heads prevail at some point? Because all this came on with football, but now you've got the U.S. volleyball team going to play the Rutgers volleyball team. Like who, like that's just not for the kids. So is cooler heads ever going to prevail? And they say, hey, if y'all want to do it as football, y'all can go to the Big Ten, but you think the Pac-12 ever comes back? Or where does this transfer portal stuff go? And where does this realignment stuff go?
We got about 2 hours, Billy, for this question. Yeah. I think there was probably an opportunity that has passed us by, and Chip Kelly is one of the coaches who was outspoken about this when he was still at UCLA, that football should be able to do its own thing. If UCLA, Washington, USC want to go to the Pac-12, the Big Ten, that's fine. But they should do their standalone thing. The fact that there's not Pac-12 baseball or Pac-12 volleyball, whatever, is just utterly ridiculous. And so I'm with you on there. I think football is just such a beast financially that it was going to do its thing for money. I think with transfers and the ability to the unlimited transfers, I think the toothpaste is out of the, I think just legally, I think it's the type of thing, Kelly, where a lot of people, or 80% of the people in sports probably think it's a bad idea, but legally this all has been challenged. So you cannot go back. The one thing that I'm very hopeful for is from an NIL standpoint or, financially, that there's some sort of cap, and it can be a big cap, whatever it is, but just the inequality right now and the uncertainty. And we've run a series of stories based on college basketball this week, but we've done similar in college football. The uncertainty is what really is killing coaches out there, because they're bargaining against lies. Basically, an agent can go and say, I've gotten, $400,000 from Missouri here. What can you do? Well, it's not like college. It's not like the NFL where there's contracts, there's collective bargaining. So it's the uncertainty. So I'd love sometime, and I think we will soon, to see some sort of cap there. But a lot of the other stuff, I think it's too late on.
Does with this conference realignment stuff, does the ACC stick together? I mean, they've got the deal with Florida State, Clemson. If they lose those two, I mean, those are the power hitters in that conference, other than North Carolina and maybe Miami now. But like, do they stay together? And if they stay together, if they don't stay together and it gets abolished, like where does this go? I mean, are we going to have like two big power conferences that every team's going to play in?
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like the big two, and it might just be the big one at some point in the next 10, 15 years, just like a separate standalone 25-team power conference. I think nothing's going to happen, in my opinion, in the next few years. Obviously, if you follow the grant of rights is the big issue. Can they get out of it? I think in 5 years, in 5 years, are Florida State and Clemson going to be in the ACC? I don't think so. I think one reason the ACC was proactive in adding Cal, Stanford, and SMU was to stay alive. Like they'd obviously lose a lot losing those two teams. But let's say they've added those three teams. Let's say Clemson and FSU leave. Maybe they add a South Florida. Then they're kind of like the Big 12. They can survive like that. I think what would have really hurt them is if they didn't expand and they lose those two power teams. Now I'm saying all this, and we've written stuff recently where some people who are far smarter and more knowledgeable about this say if the ACC were to disband, that North Carolina and Virginia would be the teams that the SEC and or Big Ten would be more interested in. So there's a lot of stuff we don't know. It's all speculation. It's great for talk radio and all that, but we just don't know. Because like if we were sitting here, if it was on the show 3 years ago and you told me the Pac-12 would dissolve, we'd be like, oh, you're crazy. I mean, we just cannot anticipate these changes.
Mitch, real quick, Billy too. I had a quick question. So last year, the way the college football playoff committee kind of organized their rankings was a lot based on record. The two notable exceptions were Louisville was consistently ranked behind the other one-loss teams until they got to the two-loss category. And then Alabama jumps Florida State in that final ranking. Do you see the same thing transpiring this season? I mean, the one notable one was obviously LSU goes to Columbia, beats Missouri, and they're still ranked behind Missouri. Do you think that's going to be something that continues where they tier these rankings, college football playoff-wise, in terms of record?
I don't think so. I give them, I might be naive here, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. There's some good football coaches on that. You get some smart football people on there. With the super conferences and the schedules, the imbalance, you cannot just look at record. I mean, you're playing in a 16-team SEC. The Big Ten is enormous as well. You can have two teams with 6-2 records, and the strength of schedules could be entirely different. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to think they're smart enough, and they'll look at the numbers. They'll have some of the analytics. They'll have all the power rankings and stuff like that. I'm just looking at the SEC. I'm making this up, but a 6-2 LSU team that's beaten Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas is a lot different than a 6-2 Oklahoma team that didn't beat a top 10 team. That's just common sense right there. So I'm sure we'll still get mad at the selection committee. There'll still be complaints, but I'd like to think actually this might force them to kind of dig their heels in a little more. Not saying they didn't work hard to do their research. I'm not saying that at all, but they've got to kind of be even more hyper-focused on being sure they get the best teams in, because it's going to be so difficult to compare them because the schedules are different.
There's just going to be so much variability week to week. Yeah.
Mitch, great stuff. That was awesome, as always. Before I let you go, let people know how they can follow you, whether it's Twitter, but also any story ideas potentially coming up with The Athletic.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. At Mitch Light on Twitter. And we continue, as a staff, continue obviously to cover getting ready for college football. Got a huge plan coming up in August. One story that, and maybe we should ask Kelly this too, but I'm working with Bruce Feldman on this, who knows every coach in the country. We're asking a bunch of coaches what is their favorite play call they've ever had. And not necessarily like a big game, just a favorite play call where you totally trick someone. So you guys need to ask Watson Brown when he comes back on the show that. So I'm having fun a lot working with Bruce on that one. But so we're going to have a lot going on in August.
I like it. I'll let you know what Coach Brown says on that, Mitch.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Mitch.
See you,
That's
buddy.
Mitch Light from The Athletic, senior editor covering college sports. They do a really good job. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. They do stuff like that where you ask, Q&As. And so, Kelly, go ahead and subscribe.
You're killing me, Hoss. I had to download the app the other day, and I don't think it's still on my phone yet. I am technologically not there, like you and Billy too, man.
Billy 1, Billy 2. All right, that was great with Mitch Light. We're going to keep that conversation going. What are the implications of the increased scholarships for both college football, but also baseball? Is it the end of walk-ons? Because it sounds like it will be. We'll talk more about that coming up right here, 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
It's just a few cocktails at happy hour.
There aren't any cops around.
After every game, we always have a few. It's no big deal.
It was just a few drinks. I'm good.
Hey, I can hold my liquor.
I drink and drive all the time.
If you put away some drinks, put away your keys. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security.
Here's Stan Harrison for Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, George. We at Apple Collision Centers understand the stress that auto body repair process can put in your day-to-day lives. We at Apple Collision Centers, we have 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. You can stop by and get an estimate, or you can get one online at www.applecollisioncenters.com.
Welcome back. George Plaster's show. Final day with Kelly Holcomb of this week. It'll be me and Billy, too, tomorrow coming at you, and then George will be back next week. Guys, talked about it a lot with Mitch Light. Mitch did have some really good insight, I think, better than the 3 of us can provide. But let's hop into how we think this affects both football and baseball. Because I still think baseball-wise, Billy, and I don't know if y'all agree, just the pure numbers going from 11.7, and that's what it's been at since I don't know how long. I mean, since a long time, and now that goes up to 34. And Mitch did bring up how it makes the rosters smaller, though, in a weird way, because a lot of rosters, Billy, you see are upwards of 44, 45, but now I would guess you'll only be able to travel with 34, or maybe even somewhere around 30, in that 30 range. But that walk-on thing, Kelly, is what I get at, and that might have a bigger effect than we really think. With NIL and the portal, walk-ons it's going to end. So do you think, how destructive can that be, or do you think that's sort of that's a necessary evil here? Because I know there's a lot of coaches that have come out and said, I don't like this. Walk-ons are very important. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Billy. I'm not sure how this is going to go, man. I really like 105 scholarships, though, is quite a bit. I mean, that's a lot on a team.
Yeah.
Just think, you've only got, like, if you're talking football, you've got 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and you got some special teams guys. So, and a lot of the guys that start, like, Nick Saban was huge on if you start. I mean, special teams are a huge part of the game, and some of those guys had to play on special teams. So, you're talking about 22 for sure. You're talking about maybe 30 guys, and you've got 105 on scholarship. I mean, that's a lot of kids, and I don't know what it does to scholarships, but like I was saying to Mitch, like I would think that a coach would say, hey, let's just keep our 85 scholarships, and then let's because a coach can use up as much scholarship as he wants. He can pay for room and board, tuition, meals, things like that. So he can split it up how he wants, and he might start being just giving guys partial scholarships for those 85 to 105. So that's 20 players. So I don't know how it's going to go. I think it's going to affect baseball quite a bit, because I always thought that baseball, how many scholarships they get? 11 and a half? Did you
11.7.
That's crazy. So that's huge for baseball, and I think that's only because the popularity of baseball. Don't you guys think? I mean, it's making money now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the popularity is huge. I mean, Tennessee is, they burst onto the scene a couple of years ago, but you're watching all these. Like when I was a kid, you only saw Omaha back in Rosenblatt Stadium back then. That was the only thing. You just saw it on the news. Well, UT or Vanderbilt or an SEC school, they made it through the Super Regional, and now they're going to Omaha. But now every game is on TV. And that just shows you what TV's done. I mean, when was growing up, football was the same way. NFL guys, like I know y'all are used to seeing every game if you want to on TV, but we only had a game of the week in the Monday Night Football game. So that's a long time ago, and I'm kind of dating myself. But I don't know how this scholarship stuff is going to go. I think it's good, but if you're a coach, golly, man, you got a lot of decisions to make, and it might prohibit you from bringing walk-ons on. I don't know, and I don't know why walk-ons are important. But, when you go as a walk-on, nobody's expecting much from you. And maybe that's what maybe that's what a coach is talking about. Maybe they can, if you come out and you impress and you work your way up to a scholarship, but then there's guys that you need that are willing to go out and practice. Because, there was an Urban Meyer article years ago talking about how if you really think about it, guys, you've got to motivate kids to go out there and hit against another guy that's the starter, and that you're not going to play. So how do you get that going, especially in today's world with the way things are now? How do you get a kid to go out there every day knowing that he's not going to play this year, but go out there and practice every day and go through all the rigorous stuff that you have to go through, and you still get him to buy in with the hope that he's going to play one day, which he may not. So how do you do that? That was an interesting article that Urban Meyer brought up, and he's like, it's a deal that we're asking these kids to do something that is not, as a human being, you're not expected to go up and smash against another person. Now that's what we've got in our society when we play football. We're like modern day gladiators. But how do you keep a kid that knows he has no chance of playing, keeping him going out there and going through that day after day after day, knowing that, hey, I'm just not good enough. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions that's got to be answered. I like the 105 scholarships, but man, there's a lot of decisions to be made.
Yeah, I think it gives you certainly more practice depth. If you're a coach, this is something that I heard even Coach Drinkwitz talking about last year, especially now with this expanded postseason where you're going to have more games. I do think it changes the walk-on dynamic in the sense that you just don't need as many. And those guys are probably going to know that if I'm a walk-on, there was virtually zero shot before, and now there's, whatever's more than that. Chance that you're playing. But I do think you're still going to get some guys who for whatever reason, their dream is, for instance, at Tennessee to run through that T and wear the orange and white. So I think you'll still get a few kids, but now you certainly loosen up that practice depth. I wonder on the baseball front, though, maybe it doesn't change a lot for these programs that have been established, like a Tennessee or a Vanderbilt, where you have the NIL buy-in. But I think about some of these programs that are trying to establish themselves. The fact that they can now go out and fully fund a team without having to ask for booster money when they're likely not going to get it, I think that's a crucial step for those programs to be able to start to get a leg up, because it feels like they're so far behind the eight ball at this point.
Well, and I'll tell you another thing, Billy, before you say, this gives a coach an opportunity, because every year you're going to have guys transferring now. Every year. So you're going to lose guys on your team, in your organization. And maybe with all these scholarships, the 105th guy that you got on scholarship, and you've got one of these offensive guys that decide to go, and you keep him in the program. Well, it's just kind of a feeder down to, they're in your organization, so you can feed down to, maybe playing one day. So I think that's one thing that could help.
Yeah, college coaches are probably going to try to fill out their rosters sooner now rather than later, and you're probably going to see recruiting classes of upwards of 30, maybe even upwards of 35 kids. And the real benefit here, guys, is the 3-star kid that is an average player, for example, lands at a school, any school, it lands at SMU, and but he can, he'll be willing to redshirt and wait his time and still be fine, because upwards of 105 scholarship numbers, you're not worried about, man, I'm going to have to be cut. I'm going to have to really work my tail off to even make this team, or else I'm going to have to drop down to a group of 5 school. So I think those are the kids it really helps. For the 4 and for the 5 stars especially, don't think it's really makes a huge impact on them either way, because they're good either way. But the 3-star kid, Kelly, to me, that is kind of on that line and knows he's probably not going to play as a freshman, maybe not as a sophomore, he can wait. Like, and that can still happen now, but now with this increase, I don't think kids will have to worry about that as much, which I think coaches are probably happy about.
I think this brings the high school athlete back into play.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, I think this brings a high school
and that's
kid
what
back
coaches.
into play.
That's what Watson always brought up. That's what coaches were most upset about. And you've talked about that too.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, because it was leaving high school kids out. So now if you got more scholarships, so now you can go get your transfer kids, but now let's try to bring these kids up in our organization and go out and get them. I think that brings the high school kid back into play for these schools.
Does this hurt teams not, named, teams not in that tier one, though, of recruiting? If you're a 3-star kid who probably before maybe would have taken a shot at, a Mississippi State or a Missouri or a Kentucky, all of a sudden you get a call from Coach Kirby Smart who says, listen, you're probably not going to play year 1 or year 2, but I think maybe you could develop into a really good player for us one day. But you're a guy who's definitely in that, 95 to 105 range. Do those sort of kids that probably would have built up a bulk of some of the more mid-level rosters in the SEC now say, you know what, I'm going to go take my shot at a place like Georgia? Or are they just going to end up transferring out anyway if they're not playing after 2-3 years? That's, I don't know, just a thought that I've been bouncing around.
There's a lot. There's so many questions, but at the end of the day, you look at the sports, baseball, like you mentioned earlier, schools like LSU, Texas A&M, those big money school, baseball is going to keep growing quick. We saw it this past year. Texas A&M, I think they're probably going to win it all this year. They got a kid drafted in the 3rd round, Ryan Prager, their best pitcher. He's coming. Yeah. He elected to come back. Now, that's more of an NIL type thing, but I still think from 11.7 to 34, this is kind of a line in the sand, Billy and Kelly, that college baseball is officially into the big 3 sports. It's not the big 2. I mean, I've heard some of the money, some of the incentives, some of the deals, kids getting trucks and flight point. Just the same sort of things that are happening in football, Kelly, are happening at a lot of schools in baseball too, that I think a lot of people may not know about.
I think the popularity of baseball was on full display a couple of months ago, man. Everybody loves the game of baseball. Even if you look at it, everybody loves the game of softball. I mean, softball, I can sit there and watch a softball game. That stuff is quick. It's fast. You got a lot of chanting from the girls on the bench, which is a cool thing. But like baseball and softball have taken mainstream now, and it's cool to see. It really is, because I grew up as a baseball player. I love the game of baseball, and like I said, you couldn't really see much. Now I know TV was, it wasn't as big as it is now, but the popularity of baseball is huge now, and I think you're seeing that. And I think just what you talked about with kids getting all this money, with all this attention, man, it's huge for the sport.
And this is just another step up the ladder of. You talked about it with Mitch, Kelly, the big 2 conferences. Mitch even said maybe even the big 1.
I think that's where it's going, man, at some point. I just don't know how. But you've got the brand of the SEC and the brand of the Big 10. They're going to hold on to that forever. I don't know if the brand of the Big 12 is big enough, or ACC. ACC is in basketball. Yeah. But I don't know where all this is going, man. But nobody, like Mitch said, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, who would have ever thought that the Pac-12 would be abolished and it would be gone in the year 2024? Are we kidding with that?
Feels like, though, the ACC is even kind of torched his brand a little bit in basketball in the effort to expand it. The whole thing was the Tobacco Road, and then you had the Virginia and the Clemson thing, Georgia Tech, right? Yeah. Now they're playing their tournaments in Washington, D.C. and Brooklyn versus, the old school Greensboro Coliseum. So I wonder if trying to modernize is actually – hurt some of these schools in the long run.
I will tell you another thing, too, because Greg Sankey made it a conscientious effort to get some better basketball coaches, and, man, he's done it. And the SEC is getting up there in basketball now. The Kentucky was the only, blue blood, to be honest with you, but now you look at Tennessee, now it's going to be Arkansas. You look at all these teams in the SEC, they're coming on in basketball as well.
Mm-hmm. Man, Mitch is right, though, and Kelly, same with you. I mean, we don't know where this is going.
No,
you can't
no
predict
clue.
this. So, but we know where the show is going. We're going to take some calls. We got 2 lines open right now. Bo in Nashville, sit tight. We're going to go to the break, take your call, and then wrap this baby up here on 95.9 FM.
As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
4,000 trailers and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Hey, if you're looking for a place to catch all the hockey and hoops action this spring, look no further than the Alley Pub in Bellevue. And now here's Samantha to tell you about one of their great weekly specials.
Attention service industry. We want to say cheers to you at the Alley Pub, located at 7040 Highway 70 South in Bellevue. Every Wednesday night, bring a copy of your ABC card or pay stub to receive 20% off of your tab. Only at the Alley Pub, Bellevue's best sports bar and grill.
Rounding out a good show today. Had Danny Evans, great first segment, and then Mitch Light talking a little college football. But Kelly, guess what?
Got some calls. We've
got packed phone lines. We've got 3 callers on the line. We're going to kick it off with Bo in Nashville. Bo, what's going on?
Not much. Billy, Kelly, how we doing?
Doing good,
man.
Well, first off, I don't think people really understand how much the scholarships is going to change the way college baseball is recruited. Because, I mean, you hear about guys nowadays getting recruited out of middle school and getting offers in 8th grade, and it's essentially a tryout for your entire high school career to say, do you belong in our program or not? And I think that's going to totally change how they evaluate and look at players that young. But the other thing that I've keep going back to in my head with all the conference realignment and now the scholarship is when you have a team like UCLA playing in the Big Ten, and now the Northwestern baseball team or softball team has to go to UCLA for a 3-4 game series out there. I feel like it's starting to take the athlete out of the student athlete and becoming so you're here for sports. So let's travel across the country for 5 days instead of you being at school that week.
Yeah, we've talked about that a little bit. These kids are not, I mean, how are they going to go to class? I know a lot of times online, bring your laptop, but I feel like we're getting closer and closer, and we've already been this way, probably more so in the SEC for a long time with these kids probably not being full participants. But, I mean, we're probably getting even closer, Kelly, to, kids not even having to go to class. I mean, that's what it feels like.
I told you that. That's what the agent said, man. And the NCAA is for the kids, though, y'all.
Yeah.
But when you're having a kid go from UCLA to Penn State to play volleyball, it's not for the kids. I mean, it's a good road trip, but that's not for the kid. The whole part of college is to be a student athlete.
Yeah, and the haves and the have-nots are just keep separating further because your Northwesterns, your Dukes, your Stanfords, all those high academic schools, man, that feels like it's going to be tougher. Yes,
Vanderbilts.
Just think reasonably, it's going to be hard, and it's harder than it even is right now. So, Bo, good call there, though. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and the only thing I also think is if you go out to a school like Oregon State, now they're all alone with them and Wazoo. Who are they going to play during baseball season? Football, they can do a non-conference schedule or play Mountain West or whatever, but baseball, are they just going to beat up on Gonzaga and WCC teams with a loaded
that's the plan right now.
or 40-man scholarship roster?
Yeah, so maybe Oregon State and Washington State are in a better spot than the Pac-12 schools that went to the Big Ten now, at least for baseball. Maybe not football.
Yeah, basketball is going to be a different story, though.
Yeah. Thanks, Bo.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right, let's go now up to Boston. George in Boston back with us again. George, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. There's been a lot of college football talk on the show this week, but I've got a couple of NFL questions for you guys.
Okay.
The first is about a player who Kelly played against in his career, Rodney Harrison. He's one of only 2 players to ever get 30 sacks and 30 interceptions in a career. Ray Lewis is the only other to do that in NFL history. Rodney was elite in coverage. He was elite rushing the passer, and he was elite stopping the run. How come he's not in the Hall of Fame yet?
Kelly?
Yeah, I don't understand that one. Now, I don't know if he was an elite, if he was an elite cover guy, but he was one of those guys that had a nose for the football. That's for sure. And you're absolutely right, man. He was one of those guys that brought it. He was the mentality of the defense, especially, when they were on their rise. He was one of those guys that, was a leader to the team. So I'm like you, George. I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame, but that stuff's so political, and he played the game a little different. He played a little harsh, and some people thought he was a cheap shot guy. But I mean, the guy's, his play, speaks everything about how he was as a player and his character, and he was a great teammate. And I'm with you. I think he needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
He's well respected.
Yes,
I will say he was a finalist this year. He was close, but
okay,
we'll see.
He'll get
obviously
there,
down the line. Yeah.
Yeah,
he'll get there.
He's been a finalist for a couple years, but it hasn't quite worked out, unfortunately. The other question I have for you guys is about Aaron Rodgers. I know that there's always a lot of off-the-field talk with Rodgers. I mean, I feel like the guy fell out of the crazy tree and hit all the branches. But I've got a on-field criticism of him. So Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old, but he's got one pretty big flaw in that he doesn't manage the clock very well. He lets the clock run all the way down in the middle eight and the last 2 minutes of the fourth. And in that NFC Championship a couple years ago, he left way too much time on the clock and helped Brady get back in that game. I know, Kelly, because you played the position, there's certain things a QB can't control, like their height, their speed, their arm strength, but clock management is one. Why hasn't Aaron Rodgers fixed this so late in his career?
Man, that's a good question, George. I mean, here's the deal, man. Me and my son have talked about it. I think it's arguable, but like I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest to play the game because I think he can do it with his feet. He can throw off either leg. He's very accurate with the ball. My whole complaint with him is, he's had a bunch of big games at NFC Championship games when he was at Green Bay, and he could not come through.
Mm-hmm.
He did win one Super Bowl when they beat the Steelers, I think, but I don't know, man. I hadn't paid that much attention. I know what you're talking about. You're absolutely right, because when you're on the field, you have to control the game, and when you're in certain situations, you go over that stuff during practice. You go through that stuff, and when you get older, everything kind of slows down for you. You're matured enough, and you have to understand the situation of the game, and you got to know that when you're playing a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning, the game is never really over. So if you're ahead, you've got to suck the time off the clock, and sometimes guys get crazy in those situations, but man, I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. I know he's weird. I'm weird too, man. You'd probably say the same thing about me, George, but sometimes you get caught up in the situation and you don't think about things that you need to be thinking about to win a game. And like I said, my complaints is he's had a lot of big games at Green Bay after he won that first Super Bowl, and he just has not been able to come through.
I'll say this, George, before you go. He doesn't have the intangibles that Tom Brady does. I'll say that mentally, and especially late in games. I think you make a good point.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call, guys.
Thanks, George.
All right, buddy.
All right, let's wrap it up. Kyle, we got about a minute in Nashville.
What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing good. So here's my question. With college athletics, like specifically football, how close is it to becoming professional? I mean, players are getting paid with the NIL. I feel like these traditions are ruined, like SEC on CBS. It seems like it's all about the money now, and players being able to move around freely. How is it fixable, and what should the NCAA do?
It's very corporate, Kelly.
Oh, absolutely, man. Professionalism is now college football, man. There's no more amateurism in it. It's gone. Those days are over. And like we grew up, and that's a great point you make, Kyle.
So how close are we? No, we're there.
We're there.
What you're saying.
We're not close. We're there. I mean, that guys getting paid. Nico at Tennessee's getting paid over $1 million. So I mean, it's professional football. I mean, that's what it is. I don't like it, but that's the way it goes. I've always said that kids need something, but like when you start paying $750,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, it's professional sports now. It's gone.
Do you think we're getting collective bargaining and actual official contracts in college sports, or do you think it's going to be this kind of mixed model they have where they really get the benefits of being a amateur and the fact that they get paid? You
probably should.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. A scholarship is a contract. I mean, you have to sign that when you're a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember signing mine. So that's a contract to say that you're with the university. But I don't know. They're going to have to start holding some of this stuff over their heads. Like, you're going to have to play in the you're going to have to play in the bowl games. If you have misconduct and you get disciplined, you're going to get that money taken away. They have to hold these guys to a standard now that they're getting paid.
Hate to do it, Kyle, but we got to go.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you.
That's Kyle in Nashville. We're going to wrap it up with Bet of the Day coming up. Keep it right here, 95.9 FM.
Here's Stan Harrison for Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, George. We at Apple Collision Centers understand the stress that auto body repair process can put in your day-to-day lives. We at Apple Collision Centers, we have 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. You can stop by and get an estimate, or you can get one online at www.applecollisioncenters.com.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. While leaning over the fence, your neighbor said you could save money bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. Your neighbor leaned over a little too much and broke your fence. Dumb news. Somehow fence wood is more expensive than wood. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and to plant really tall shrubs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
It's time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. What you got for us today, Billy?
We're going Rangers, again, back to the well. Got a win last night with the Rangers over the White Sox. Danny said this is a historically bad White Sox team. Everybody knows that. I'm going back to the well. I need to get another win here. Rangers minus 250 tonight.
I mean, Kelly, I got one word for that. That's soft.
Pathetic, Billy.
That's soft.
Soft as cotton, dude. That's
You got to take the wins where you can get them.
250?
That's soft as a fig Newton, Billy. That's ridiculous. I could have picked that one.
Well,
come on, man.
Good for you, Kelly.
I mean, grow up.
Go shoot an 85 tomorrow. All right, hey, good week, Kelly. Good job,
yes, sir.
And we'll see you next week. George will be back, and it'll be the Billy Show tomorrow. So everybody enjoy
All
that.
right,
wrap in.
Sounds good, man. See you.
All right, take it easy, Kelly.
250.
See y'all.
Yep.
Wow. Pathetic.
We'll see y'all.